should you buy your property to live in first or actually rent first instead? So I personally don't think there's a one size fits all answer. And I think a few things should be considered before making that decision. So in this video, I'm going to speak about some of the key things you want to think about before you actually want to buy a property to live in or rent instead. So the first is, how long do you plan on actually living in that property? So I think when you buy a residential property, the costs that come with it can be quite high. So it's not just the deposit you're paying for, but there's moving costs, furniture costs, appliances. There's also additional costs as well, like mortgage fees, solicitor fees. So it all adds up. So if you're only looking to actually live there for a year or two or even 3, then potentially it might not be worth it because you're not actually going to see substantial growth in that property to make it worth it. However, if you're actually considering or living in that property for a large period of time, then it can make more sense. So if you're looking and you're thinking about living in that property for, let's say, at least 5 years or more, then yes, it might make more sense because the property is likely to go up in value by quite a lot, and then you can leverage that, right? Whether it's selling the property, refinancing the property, and things like that. So for me, I've been living in this property, my residential, for now 8 years, and it's only really been the last few years I've actually seen a lot of growth from it. So in the first few years I lived in it, I don't really see that much growth. So there wasn't much I could have done with it. But now I've since been able to do a lot more with it. So I've spoken about it on previous videos. You know, with this residential, I was able to release equity from it twice, you know, totaling £75,000. And that enabled me to buy 5 more properties. So living in the property for a large period of time enabled me to do that. I wouldn't have been able to do it if I only had been in the property for 2-3 years, for example. The second thing you want to think about is actually, would you be able to put your money to work better? If you've got an investor's hat, you know how to deploy your money, make money from it, ensure that you can get good return from it off the gate, then potentially renting first might make more sense because you know that actually you could deploy that money, and instead of having it sit in a residential, you could put it towards an investment property or another type of investment. It could be a business, it could be stocks, crypto, whatever it is. If you know you can make a far better return, then that's another factor you want to consider. And I think the third thing, and potentially this might even be the most important factor, is actually, what phase are you at in life right now? Are you in the flexibility phase? So maybe you're young, you're in your 20s, and you're thinking about traveling, moving around, visiting different countries, potentially living in different countries, and that's in your potential future plans, but you're not sure, you're still deciding. Then it might not make sense to lock down a place initially. But if you're maybe a little bit older and you're trying to actually buy a property to live in, maybe you've got a family already or you're thinking of starting a family, then it might make more sense to actually buy residential. So you've got something that's home and you've got something that's more secure for yourself and for your family. So I think that also plays a big factor as well in deciding whether you want to purchase a property to live in or actually rent a property for the meantime. What I did, of course, has worked quite well for me. That's releasing equity and buying more properties, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to work for everybody else. I appreciate that everyone's circumstance, everyone's situation is different. Your situation is going to be different from mine. So there's different variables and factors you're going to have to consider before making that decision on whether you actually purchase a property to live in or you rent instead. So hopefully you enjoyed this short video and it's helped bring some clarity on what you should decide to do. If you're in that phase of life where you're thinking, oh, should I actually buy to live in or rent instead? Now, I will be dropping a video later in the week on the budget. The budget is coming out today. So Rachel Reeves will speak about the new taxes that are coming into place and anything that's happening with regards to property. I'll ensure to update you guys as well. So if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, and if you find value from this video or any other video on this channel, then do subscribe as well. Until next time, happy investing.